Hi, this is Marty Lecklatter, the product manager for HCL Domino Volt. Welcome to the Domino Volt Lab. We're going on the assumption that you have access to Domino Volt to complete these exercises. There's a couple of artifacts which you'll need as well. There's the Domino Volt step-by-step tutorial and a spreadsheet which has some data. The way the lab will work is I'm going to review the finished application, and then we're going to get into building the app ourselves. I'm going to show a few steps, how to do it, and then turn it over to participants to complete those steps. And then we're going to pick up and show a little bit more. You're going to get a chance to do those, and we're going to continue till we complete the entire tutorial. These are the two applications that we are going to create in the tutorial. We're going to spend most of our time with the training request app. It starts with a spreadsheet. We have information about courses, and we turn that spreadsheet into an app. And you can see that app here. And then we build another piece to the app, which is a training request form. And the idea here is that employees can go to this form and request to attend a training course. The list of courses in this drop-down is populated from the catalog. And when I select a course, information is retrieved and pushed into these fields, including the URL, which renders as an image here. We take a look at rules. So in this case, I have a rule which shows travel authorization number and makes it required if I say travel is required. And we also look at an update service. We build a feature into this application so that it keeps track of how many people have registered for the course. So I can see that there's 25 out of 25 seats here. Nobody's registered for new hire orientation. But if I go to leadership, 20 seats are left, which means that 5 people have registered. There's also workflow in this application, and we'll learn how people in the workflow can be notified and how their view into the application will look and behave differently from the initiator's view. The second app we're going to create builds off of what we create in the first one and uses a table for making selections. What's nice about the table is I can include more information to make the selection. Perhaps I want to see a list of courses that are offered in a particular city or by a particular date. So let's start building. We're going to take a look at the first part, which is creating the course catalog from the spreadsheet. Simply click New Application, from Spreadsheet, click Next. Go find the spreadsheet on your hard drive. Accept all the defaults. And you now have the course catalog application. View the data to see the records in the course catalog. Go over to Customize and scroll all the way down, and where you see View Form in the right panel, click that. And then you can click on the different records. You can see how the records look in Form View. If you want a new course, you can launch a new form. You can also go over to Summary and see information which is created on the course information that you just loaded. The next step is to create the request application. Go into the course catalog, click Edit. Rename Sheet 1 to Catalog. It's always a good idea to have a name. And then next to Catalog, click the plus sign. This is going to create a new form. We'll call this form Request. Grab Request, so hold down your left mouse button, and then move it, drag it up above Catalog. And the reason we're doing this is we want it to be the default form we see and the default view we see. By putting it first in a list makes it so. Next, we'll add an image to the top. Let's add a file. Paste the URL into use a file from the internet. Set the height to 30 pixels. And then drag a text item over and add training request app. Highlight the text and give it a heading 1 style. Grab the handle in the lower right hand corner and drag the text across the entire width of the form. Grab the handle for the column and make it roughly half the size, which is 400. You can also drag the image across both columns. You can drag things back. Go to the page properties for request, and under advanced you'll see that by default the form has a dynamic width ranging from 400 to 800 pixels, and it also has a breakpoint where the form will collapse to a single column of 700. Add a single line entry below the title Training Request App. Click on Properties, set the width to full, change the title to Name. Click the duplicate icon and single click into the title and add Manager. Click to the right of Name and then click on the email item. Duplicate that and again single click into the title and put Manager in front of email. Next, we'll add a drop down to select a course. Go grab the drop down item, put it under Manager Name, click into the title and type in Select a Course. Go to the drop down's properties and then click Edit. In the drop down, select Use a Service and then click Add Edit Service Configuration. We're going to select a service from the current application, and the service is going to look at the course catalog and search for all values, and the ones we want are 2, the unique identifier, and we're going to map that to the saved value in the dropdown, and then the title of the course, we're going to map that into the displayed value. Next, we'll click Preview, which is in the upper right. And the first time you preview, you may have to enable pop-ups. We can see the progress of the application, and we can see that the search service looking in the catalog is working. Next, we're going to take a look at a couple of style additions to the application. There's a URL in the PDF which points to a font. Download that font to your hard drive and then click on Settings and then go over to Files and then click Add and select the font file that you just downloaded. Go over to Style and then click Customize. Under General, Fonts, and then General, click the Font Family drop-down and you can see the font shows up there. And you can change the size as well. So we've changed the font and we've increased the size just a little bit. Next, go down in the palette under Specialized and grab the HTML item and drag that to the bottom of your form. And then go over to the PDF and copy the HTML style tag. Come back to the HTML fragment, single click, backspace or highlight and delete the text that's in there, and then paste in the fragment. And if you're pasting from a PDF, you don't necessarily get the line breaks, which technically are fine, but you may want to format this so it looks pretty. So that's better. What we've done is added a piece of CSS, so there's a class called Lotus Banner, and what this is going to do is tell the application not to display the banner. So when I preview this, I see my fonts are different, and the black banner that used to be there is no longer displaying. Next, we're going to add a section in fields for the selected course information. Go grab in the display items a section and put it under the drop-down for select course. Drag it across both columns. Go into the section properties, and under advanced you see that you can set a breakpoint. You can set it to whatever you want. We'll leave it at 700, which is fine. Let's start adding fields. I'm going to add a single line field. I'm going to set this title to course title. We'll click to the right of this and get a currency item, and this will be the cost of the course. And click below the date the course is offered. Click to the right, time, and so forth and so on. So you can see I added all the fields into the section. Next, we're going to add a rule so we show the travel authorization number when travel is required. So go to the travel authorization number and click the rule icon. Add a rule, and then click Show for travel authorization number. And we're going to show this when is travel required equals yes. And then click plus next to Show and select travel authorization number again. And we're going to add another action to this, and we're going to say that this is required. So not only are we showing it, but we're making it required if travel is required. You can preview this and see that it shows up. The red asterisk indicates that it's required. If I click no, it doesn't appear. Next, we'll add a service to retrieve selected course information. Go to the Select a Course drop-down, click on its properties, and then go over to Events. Click on Item Change, and then call a service. Click on Add Edit Service Configuration. So this is a second service which we're defining. It's being tied to the OnChange event for this dropdown. We're going to select a service which calls the current application the catalog, and unlike the service that populated the dropdown, which was a search, this one is a retrieve. And the way I differentiate between search and retrieve, search will return many records, retrieve will return a single record. So we want the record for the course that we're interested in, the one that we're selecting. So we select retrieve, and we have an input. And the input is select a course. And we're going to tie that to the unique identifier, since that is what's stored in select a course. And for outputs, we'll start with description. We'll map that to description, the instructor to instructor, the location to location, the picture to the image, the date and the time, and that's good. Click on preview, select a course, and we can see that this is working. Next, we'll add a manager summary page. Go to page 1 under request and click the add icon, and we'll call this new page manager summary. We'll add the same image that we have on the first page. Just simply select it. You don't need to add the file again. And we'll add the title again. You can also drag and drop the title and the image from the first page over to the second page. And then below this, we're going to add another text item. And then we're going to copy from PDF this text. We'll paste that in here. You need to clean it up just a bit, since copying from a PDF and pasting doesn't always come out that well. But this will still save you time over doing it from scratch. Put a space in between each one just to give it a little bit more room, make it look better. And then after your employee, hit a couple spaces and go to the insert item, and then move down to page 1 and then over to name. And then do the same here for select a course. And take the course title. And then for cost and date. And then location. Add a text item below this text item and type in travel is not required. Duplicate this, edit it, and add travel is required, and the authorization number is : duplicate this, edit it, and add travel is required, and the authorization number is : and then use the insert item and go to page 1 and get the travel authorization number. Go back to travel is not required, click the rule icon, and add a rule. Show this when, and what you need to do is click Show Items on All Pages, click the drop down again, and then you're going to get all the items on the first page when the answer to the question is travel required. In this case, when it's no, we're going to show that. And then we're going to add a rule here. We're going to show this one. Again, click Show on All Pages. Is travel required? Yes. Below this, add a multi-line field. Call it Managers Comments. Set its property so it's full width, and drag it across the entire form. Next, we'll add workflow to the app. Go to Stages, highlight the Submitted stage, and then click plus a couple of times. We're going to add 2 stages after Submitted. The first one is called Approved, and the next one we're going to call Denied. Go back to the Submitted stage, rename the first action button to Approve. Make the next stage Approved. Go below and click Add a Submit button, and then rename that Submit button Deny, and then make the next stage for that button Denied, and then delete the Cancel button. Under Start, go to Notifications. To do that, click the Properties for the Submit button, and then click Activities, Send an Email. So what this means is that when the initiator submits the form, it's going to send an email. And the to value is going to be the manager's email address. And then we can carbon copy the employee, put in a subject, and you can use the same insert capability that we used earlier to grab items from the form and put it into the form. In this case, the notification. And then you can type whatever you want for the body of the email. Go using the what I refer to as echo text to do so. So, dear manager name, your employee, as requested. Anyway, you get the idea. Word of caution, don't save the notification if you're using the Docker image because it's not set up properly for messaging. If you do have an instance that you're doing this exercise on that is, then go ahead and save this. The next part of workflow has to do with access. So we've got to set up the initiator submits it. It goes to a manager who picks it up in the submitted stage. The manager then either approves or denies it. If we go to access, we can see the 2 different forms, the catalog form and the request form. Under request, we see all the workflow stages that have been defined so far. So in the submitted stage, we see the various roles. These are default roles, and the privileges that these roles have in the form in this stage. What you want to do is define a new role. So you'd go to Define Roles, click the plus, and then give it a name. For instance, like Managers. And then under step 2, click on Managers, and here's where you would assign who's a member of Managers. So it could be a group, an individual from your directory. In this case, I'm not really connected to an organizational directory, so I'll just say all authenticated users. I'll come back to the stage underneath request. We see managers as a role showing up here. And what we want to do is say that the manager can update the form when it's in that particular stage. Now the last thing we want to do in workflow is set some stage visibility rules. What this means is who can see the form in each stage and what can they do with it. So when it's in the start stage, the initiator should only see the first page, which is the form that they fill out for the request. So I can hide the manager summary, which really isn't necessary because there's no way for them to navigate to it, but you get the idea. And then in the submit stage, I don't want the manager to see the first page, I want them to see the manager summary. So here, hiding the first page does make sense. And then when the employee is filling out the form, what I want to do is lock down, so you can see the little icon there for locking, the information about the course, because that's coming from the catalog. They don't need to enter that. They do need to enter travel, is travel required in the travel authorization number, so we'll leave that open. So we save this. We'll come back to the Manage page. Let's change the name of this to Training Request App, and then we'll deploy it. And then we'll deploy it. And we'll launch it to test the workflow. We'll come over to View Data. We can see the one record that has been entered. If I go to Customize and then click Show Stage, I can see that that record is in the submitted stage. If I click on this record, it opens up in the submitted stage, which takes me to page 2, the manager summary. And here you can see the manager can go ahead and approve this or deny it. And if I go back, you can see that it is now approved. Next, we'll update the app so it keeps track of course registration levels. Let's go into the Training and Request app. And at the bottom of the form, we're going to put in a section. We'll name this section Hidden Section, so it'll be easier to reference and find. And then we're going to put some number fields in this. Go to Number Properties and make the fields integer, since we're going to be counting number of people. There's no sense in decimals. And we're going to call this first field capacity. And then we're going to call the next one seats left. And we'll duplicate this again and call this number registered. We'll duplicate that and we'll call this one update registered. All right, and I'll delete this row down below just to keep things neat and tidy. So the seats left is going to be a calculation. I'm going to go to properties and I'm going to click on formula. I'm going to say this is it's a subtraction, a minus, and you can see calling it hidden section makes it easy and obvious to find what you're after. So it's capacity minus the number registered. All right, and then I'm going to say the update registered is going to be an addition. We're going to use a formula again, and this is going to be the number registered plus 1. So we'll just increment that and we'll send that back to the course catalog. So in the course catalog we need to add another field. We have a field in here for capacity. What we need is another field for registered. So we have that there. We'll save this and deploy it so that new field actually exists in the course catalog database. And now we're going to create an update service. So what we want to do, go back into the request form on page 1 and on the select a course properties, we're going to go to the events and we're going to add a couple of fields to what we're getting back from the course catalog. For outputs, we want to know what is the capacity. So if we go to the hidden section, there's a field there where we can get the capacity and the number registered. All right, so we're storing the capacity and number registered in the course catalog, and we're retrieving that when we're selecting a course. So we can test this by doing a preview. Select a course. We can see the capacity is 25. There's 25 seats left. Right? And if we were to register, we would increment the number registered by 1, and then therefore this would equal 24 for seats left. So what's missing now is the update service to go and push the number registered or the update registered back into the number registered field in the course catalog. So we can do that, and then we can also add some text, which I'm going to do last, to indicate how many seats are left out of the capacity and whether or not the class is full. Go to Settings, and then for the Request app under Services, let's add a new service configuration. So this will be our update service. So what we want to do is find the training request catalog, and we're looking for the update service. So you can see the update there. And this is all inputs. So the first thing we need to do is tell the service what record we want to update. And we have that information in the Select a Course dropdown. It's the unique identifier. So we'll map that to retrieve by unique identifier. And then what we can do is get the updated registered, or update registered, from the hidden section that we created. And then scroll down and make sure that what you select has update in front of it, not search. So then we'll find registered. So that says for that particular record, go push that value into registered. So there's the service configuration. Now, unlike the first two service configurations, this one we created and we haven't associated it with an event. The other two, we started with the event and then created the service. You can do it either way. But the event that we want to associate this with is the before save event. And that's part of the form. And we then pick the update service off the list and say OK. So we can save this. And we'll need to deploy this because we actually have to submit, which you can't do in preview, to see if it's really working. So if I launch this, we'll select the course, we'll select leadership, 25 seats left, nobody registered yet. Let's refresh the browser. Let's take a look at leadership. 24 seats left, 1 registered. So this is working. The next thing we want to do is go back to the form and we'll add some text in here, and we'll say insert item, and we'll grab seats left and type in seats left because we're getting back a number, out of, and then you can select the capacity. Then we can put in another line of text. We can say class is full. And we can put a rule on this text that says show this when seats left equals 0. And also we want to put a condition on it, and seats left has a value. So by default it's going to be 0 with no value in there, but we want to make sure it has a value and that value is 0. So if we preview this, we see that there are 24 seats left out of 25 for leadership, 25 seats left out of 25 for Domino. So this is all working. Next, we're going to create a version of this app that uses a table for course selection instead of the drop-down. Go to the app that we just created, and under More, click Export and include data submissions. That's going to save a file on your hard drive. So what you're going to want to do is say new application from existing, and then go give it that file that you just downloaded. Deploy the application and import the data. The reason we're doing this is because we want to take the application we had with the data and get rid of the drop-down and put in a table. So we have the second one, and most recent is at the top, but good practice to always give things a name. So we'll say with table, and then we'll come in here and start working on this. So the first thing we're going to do is delete the drop-down. All right, and then we're going to go down and put a table in its place. And we're going to click here to start putting forms, to start putting fields in the table. So the first field we're going to put in is the course, and then we'll put in the location. And then we'll add date. Now there's one more field that we're going to put in here, and that's going to be the unique identifier. We'll click out of the table back to the main page. Let's drag the table across both columns, go to the table properties, and under advanced, click an X next to UID. We're not going to show it. It's in the table, we're just not going to show it. Right. Now, like we did with the drop-down, we want to edit properties for the table. And the event that we want to tie the population of the table to is the onShow event. So when we show it, call that search service, the search service that we use to populate the drop-down. We're now going to use it here. But we have different things that we want to tie the outputs to. We'll map the UID field to the UID field in the table. We'll get the course title, map that to the course, the date that it's offered, map it to the date, and then we need the location. And then while we're in the edit table properties, you want to take the table style and make sure that that's no buttons, because you're using a table as a display mechanism as opposed to a data capture. So we can prevent the add, delete, and edit icons or words to show. Preview this, and just like with the drop-down, we get our list from the catalog. But unlike the drop-down, we can sort it by clicking on the column heads in the table. So the next step is to get the course that we're selecting here and retrieve the information that we want for it. So there's two things we need to do. One is we want to put a field into this hidden section called UID. And then we want to go to the PDF, and there's some JavaScript. Copy this JavaScript to your clipboard. Go to the table, and in the table on the onClick event, which will indicate that you're selecting something, paste that JavaScript in. Again, issues with pasting from a PDF, but you can clean this up. So there's a couple of things going on here. One is we're setting this variable selected to what you're selecting. If nothing's selected, then don't do anything, just return. And then what we're saying is, let's set that UID field that we put in the hidden section to the value, and I put a couple of dots here. Put your cursor in between those two dots and hit Shift Space, and then go get that UID value out of the table. All right. Now, I didn't rename my field FUID, so there's a couple of things I can do here. One is I can come down here and say, let's just change this to FUID, because the way that JavaScript works is it's all off of the unique IDs, which are behind the scenes. The other is, if I didn't know that, I could just hit Shift Space and then simply come down to the hidden section and say UID. So there it is again. So that's saying that the business object f underscore UID, set its value to the one that's selected in the table. And then the final piece here is the retrieve service, the service that actually gets the information that I want. Well, when this changes, this field that I just put in here changes, let's call it. But there's one difference from the drop-down version of this app, and that is that the value I want to pass to it is the UID field in this hidden section. Everything else is the same. So now I can preview this, and when I select a course, the UID field changes, and everything works the same. So that's the tutorial. Congratulations. You've finished every step. You've built 2 different applications. Give yourself a pat on the back. Thank you.